Good morning and welcome in. Where are we? Thursday today. So lovely to have you join me if you're coming on. Apologies for being a minute or two late. I was busy trying to decide which trees looked most like they would belong in the savannah, like you do of a Thursday morning. But come on in and say hello. How is everybody? Emma, have you tried out your apple pie porridge and did it work? And I hope, Beryl, that your order arrived and that you've been playing with that, or at least having a good look, and that everything was okay. I'll wait a minute or two more just because I've had a request from the floor this morning. I was having a conversation with somebody last night who was asking about the best way to put backgrounds and roads and things. Oh, Emma's about to make it now. So we will drum roll and wait and see. Emma can fill us in on whether her porridge with chopped apple, cinnamon and a bit of salted caramel, I don't know, whatever syrup of some sort, whether it tastes like apple pie. Morning Caroline, morning Janice, lovely to see you all. I'm just looking to see, having a rummage around in the background to see if I can find the stamp set that Hannah was asking me about, and it's in a retired catalogue and I haven't actually got it. Let me see if I can. I think it's in this one. So yes, I had a message from the floor, a request from the floor yesterday, and it's not actually on here, but I'm sure she will watch on catch up, and when I tell her that we've been thinking about her conundrum. Now, Hannah has got this stamp set here. Now, I didn't have this stamp set, so I can't even pull it out. It is now retired. It didn't carry forward. I don't think it carried forward into the new catalogue. Let me just make sure I'm not fibbing in that. No, it didn't carry forward into the new catalogue, but she's got this stamp set here and she wants to use these bikes on a card, and she was saying how can she get a background and a road using those bikes. And one of the things I said to her was, oh, you could mask them. And she said, you're now talking a different language. Now, I'm sure when she sees this, or if she joins us in a minute, she will go, oh, that's masking. I've seen you do it lots of times. But I thought we would find a stamp set. So it's not going to be anything like that stamp set, but we would talk about a little bit about masking. We would have a bit of a play. We'd do some masking. And it's going to be a very different stamp set, a very different feel. I've got my cup of tea, I've got some stamps, and I've done some of the fiddly bit. Right, so I'm going to grab some Whisper White card. Here we go. And I will cut this and I will make two. Let's go 13.9. Do like to have a bit of a pop colour behind if I can do. Pop that in there for now, and then 9.5, and we'll do the second one at 9.5 as well, and then we are ready and waiting. Right, now masking is basically whenever you are blocking off a piece of your picture for whatever reason, so that you don't stamp over it or colour over it, or so it could be that we wanted to sponge a sky background and we wanted it to have a moon, so we would just cut, punch, die cut a circle probably, out of a post-it note or a bit of card, lay it on there, lay down our colour. When we take off our bit of card, we will have a white circle left. We have masked that area. We have prevented that area being stamped on, coloured on, inked on, whatever it is, and left us with a nice white moon, which we then can do funny things with. So that's one thing that you might do with masking. I've actually picked, so I couldn't be further from Hannah's cycle stamp set. I've actually gone to Back on Your Feet. But what have I got that we could do some masking with? It's a bit of fun. So we've gone Back on Your Feet. So this one, and I did have a panic this morning. It's in my carried over shelf, so I'm sure I wouldn't have put it there if it hasn't been carried over. It has been carried over. So this fun stamp set with all these quirky little characters that you can send to people that are having, you know, not feeling very well, having a bit of a rough time, whatever it is. I thought we would do some masking with this, and hence I have a giraffe while I was spending a few minutes late as I was pondering what sort of trees would look best in the savannah. But hey, onwards, we'll come to that in a minute. I think we're going to start with this little sloth. Now, what I have done before I came on, just as I sat just now, is for both the sloth and the giraffe, I have stamped them onto a post-it note. And I'm sure you've seen me do it before. You need to make sure that at least some of the stamp is covering the sticky bit. Now you can get, and I ought to have a look into getting some, you can get some post-it notes that are sticky all over. Mine aren't, they are just the standard cheapy cheerful sticky at the top. So if you want to create a mask, you need to make sure that at least some of your stamp is on the sticky bit, because you want it to stick. That's the idea of doing it on a post-it note, is so that you're going to be able to stick it over your image, and it's going to sort of not stick fast, but it's going to hold in place where you want it to be. So I have, as I say, stamped both the sloth and a giraffe onto a post-it note. It obviously wasn't that post-it note because those are very different colours. It doesn't matter what ink you use, what colour they are. It doesn't matter if it's a particularly good bright image. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just want the outline shape. Now, how fussy you get in your outline shape is entirely up to you. I did give the sloth his toes, although it looks like he's got a bit of an extra bit of toe going on there. I didn't really need to. I could have just cut along the bottom. I did cut off all the giraffe has got like all these little hairs going down his back. I didn't worry particularly about those. I sort of didn't cut right to the edge of his neck. I left a bit of a gap, but I didn't worry about those. So those are my two masks done. Now for Hannah with her bike, when I was looking at it earlier, let's see if I can find it again. As I say, this is a retired one, but I think I would cut that out as two separate masks. So I would cut round these ones if I was going to mask them, and I would cut round these ones. Wouldn't necessarily worry about in between their arms and things. If I needed to go in with a pen and just add in a bit of detail, I would, but I wouldn't worry. I would think I would just cut around the outline of that one and around the outline of that one, and that's how I would cut those if I was creating masks with them. Okay. So let's start with our sloth, I think. Poor little sloth. Now normally sloths would be hanging upside down, but this one is just sort of hanging over the branch. I think if we put him upside down, he's going to fall off because he's not holding on. So we'll have him coming this way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp my sloth. So you start with what you sort of want to be the focal point of your picture, your image. So that is what we're going to start with. Where's my memento one? Just here. I think we're going to add it. We're going to colour him. Hannah! Excellent. We've just been talking about you. You might want to go back in and catch up the beginning, but we're going to do lots of masking this morning. So the idea of masking, as I say, is that you're blocking out a piece so that it doesn't get colour over it or it doesn't get stamped on. So we're going to start off with our sloth just here. I think I'm going to bring him fairly central in our picture. just like that. Okay, so then, as I say, in my little box, and these aren't one, you don't have to use these for just one project. Once you've cut them out, you can hang on to them. So I've stamped my sloth. That's okay. I stamped my sloth onto a post-it note, and I've cut him out. So now the sticky bit of the post-it note is at the top here on this one. I am just going to lay that down over the top of there. Let's get his leaves in place. It won't matter too much about his leaves, but as we've cut them out, we may as well. I could have just cut his leaves off as well. As I say, you only need to be as particular as you want to be, really. So I'm going to put him there like that. I've also cut something else out. I went to the Majestic Mountain die set. That's the part of the Mountain Air bundle. I actually stuck a post-it note onto a bit of scrap white card that you can see just here. I've literally just stuck that post-it note onto a bit of scrap card and run those both through the die cutting machine with the cloud die. I did that because post-it notes are really thin paper, and they're not going to die cut very well. You could use this as a mask as well, although it might be a little bit thick. The nice thing about post-it notes are they're very thin, so when you're stamping over the top of them, they don't tend to give you so much of an edge round them as a piece of card would. So I'm going to have that bit of a cloud sitting over the top of my sloth. So that is another mask. So we've got two masks going on there. We've got this one that is just masking off an area, and this one that is masking off our stamped sloth. And then I'm going to take some of the Forever Ferns, and I'm going to do we'll have some jungly things, leaves and things going on in the background. Now, obviously, if I hadn't got this masked, I'd be having to be really careful about where my stamps were going so they didn't go over the top of my stamped image. But because I put my post-it note on there, I don't need to worry about such things. I can just stamp to my heart's content. And obviously a little bit weird at the moment because we are stamping over the top. I want this to be quite jungly. So I'm sort of doing some first and second generation leaves. Some more leaves coming in here. Right, looks very odd. Let us now, that is garden green. I'm going to lift this off now, carefully. Oh, I've just torn his leaves. I'll have to put those in separately. So you can see, as I lift that off, and as I lift that off, we now have all this jungly stuff going on in the background, but our little sloth is suddenly popped back to the foreground again, and we've got our little bit of a cloud thing going on just there. So you can do, so it could have been that we've got a whole range of animals. Perhaps we wanted to have a giraffe and a tortoise, and perhaps we wanted the sloth hanging down here at the back here. So the first thing you decide is, who do you want to be in the front? So the one that you want to be in the front is the one that you stamp first and mask. And then we could have stamped this tortoise here, and then when we took the mask off, the giraffe would look like he was standing in front of the tortoise. And if we'd have got the sloth hanging here, we could have had the giraffe looking like he was standing in front of the sloth. And you can do that with flowers. You can have so that you mask one, stamp some around the outside, stamp some leaves around the outside. When you take your mask off, your masked image jumps to the front and your others fall back. So let's have a look. What colour shall we do our sloth? I would think we're going to want some sort of browns. I might bring in a bit of petal pink. And we are going to want some green. Now I haven't got a garden green, so we'll go in with some old olive for the little leaves on there. Okay. No, I actually didn't stamp, so I should have perhaps done another little stamp so that some of the leaves were coming in underneath his tummy, but never mind. Let us come in and colour in the branch that he's on. So we could sort of take that a bit further out. And our little sloth. I'm going to go grey granite, I think. This is the dark grey granite. You just put some sort of splashes to give a sense of this fur. It's a bit darker down here, under his tummy. Down this side. And let's come in with the light grey granite. Blend that all out. Just I should have looked up a picture of a sloth to make sure that we were getting some sort of colourways, but it really doesn't matter. We could have a purple sloth if we want to. Hi Jane. We're chatting masking today. We had a request from the floor, which is brilliant. It's good to know that we're talking about things that you would like us to talk about. Dark petal pink. I'm just going to bring some dark petal pink around the outside. I'm going to come in with a little bit of light petal pink, but I think I'm going to leave some sort of white spaces, and then we'll do his claws in light petal pink. And then got the light smoky slate there, so I'm just going to go around the edge of this bandage with the light smoky slate, just to help that pop a little bit more. Poor old sloth. So we've got our cloud shape just there. I've done a cloud shape because in here we've got this, just this sentiment that says sigh. We're going to have that in there. I'm just sitting in a cloud. And then I am going to take this, and another sort of masking that we talk about is when we mask off a piece of a stamp. So what I want to do is I want to do the top bit at the top and the bottom bit at the bottom. So this is another sort of masking that we talk about. So actually for this one I'm going to take some tape. So I've just got some low tack tape here. You can use washi tape. If you've got some retired washi tape, you can use a post-it note. But I just find that tape is a bit more sort of, can be a bit more flexible with it. So I want that to come in there and under there, which is why I like tape, because you can do that. So I've tucked it underneath that Y and over the top of there. So what I've done is I've masked off the piece of the stamp that I don't want colour on. Exactly the same theory. You mask off the bit that you don't want to be stamped or coloured. I'm going to ink up that top bit, but when you're masking the stamp, the important thing is to take that off. Oh, I wonder if it's because it's raining. Am I dropping in and out with other people, or is that going to put, sometimes that's all there is to say at the top there. I'm going to clean up that stamp. It is raining here. Sometimes that does have a bit of an impact. Good. Glad to hear you're not texting and driving, Jane. I'm going to cover that up. And again, we want to cover up that little bit just there, because we just want this bottom bit this time. So we can use the same bit of tape, that doesn't matter. Just make sure I didn't get any on there. I don't think I did. And then we'll have, and that I'm here for you, down there. So we've masked off our little sloth, we masked off our little cloud so that we could do perhaps going to just put another okay, so the it's okay, and your porridge was good, that's all right then. You can just add in some more leaves around there. Fab. So what I might actually do is I'm going to grab my Subtles sponges and pool party. Let's move that out the way because we're with our lovely masks. So our sloth now is covered in green leaves, but that's okay. That's allowed. Just going to come in around the edge with a bit of pool party. Just a bit of sort of sky going on almost in the background. So we were saying earlier, Hannah, with your bike stamp set, I think I would cut the two bits of the bike out. If I was going to use this, if I was going to mask it like this, I would cut the two bits of bike. So the pair of bikes and the single bike I would cut out separately, I think would be easier. The other thing you could do, of course, is just stamp them and cut them out and have them stuck up in the sort of up in the foreground. Oh, we haven't covered our leaves in. Let's come and do that. So I think we'll have a bit of pool party to sit him on. Here we go. We'll cut that at 14.4. Swing it round to 10. Hi Stella. And we'll have a Whisper White card base. So there's our masking number 1. So just that basic idea of we've done lots of masking. The idea of leaving something, whatever the thing is that you want to leave without colour or stamping. So whether it's we've masked the sloth and stamped the leaves behind him, we left that cloud so that that didn't get any stamping on it, so that we could stamp that sigh into it. And then we used tape to mask off bits of our stamp. So a whistle stop lesson in masking. Some But then with Hannah and her bikes, what she really wants is sort of like, she's got her bikes, she wants road underneath them and something in the background. Is that how you're feeling? He is. It's so cute, isn't it? Yep. Sigh. Sometimes that's all there is to say. And that I'm here for you. So we're here for you, Stella. There he is. What we could do is actually put that cloud back on there. If I take that sponge, sort of sponge round it a little bit. Ooh, just give it a little bit more definition. That's stuck. That post-it note stuck. How very rude. I'm going to just put a little double of glue. Okay, so yeah, that's just giving that cloud a bit more definition there. Right, so let's have a look at our giraffe. I wonder if this is how you'll feel as well then, Stella. So again, let's start off by stamping our giraffe, because we want him to be the focal point of our picture. Just trying to clean the leafy stamp up before I pop it away. Ah, there it is. Couldn't see it. I'm going to pop. I think we want this block here for our giraffe. So again, we're going to ink him up in Memento ink, and we'll have him sort of standing to one side of our picture, just here. There he is. Oh, that was a bit of a inky hair on there. That's very frustrating. What's that? I'd obviously got something on that stamp, but that's okay because all card has two sides. Morning, Angie. So let's make sure this time we have no hair and no odd bits of paper, and we'll stamp our giraffe again. Perfect. No one would ever know. Just edit that last piece of video out. It'll all be well. So we have our giraffe. There he is. And again, I've cut out a little giraffe post-it note. Now this time the sticky is on the bottom, just because that was sort of like, there was more of that bottom bit to be sticky, if you know what I mean. So there is our little giraffe, and we've popped that post-it note over the top because we're going to mask him, because what we want to do is we want some things going on in the background, and we want some things going on down here on the ground, but we don't want any of that to interfere with our giraffe. We want him still to be looking beautifully giraffe-like. He doesn't want a tree stamped on top of him. Now, after much deliberation, I've gone with this tree for looking the most like you would find in the savannah of my stamps, my tree stamps. So what colour should we have him? I think I might go mossy meadow. And we'll have them coming up here because we're going to put some ground in. I'll have another one just here. I'm going to go in and sort of do a, let's do a stamped off one in there. Okay, so we've now got a nice sort of grove of trees in the background there. So obviously we want to come in and put some sort of ground down there. Now I think I'm going to go Sahara sand. I'll perhaps add in some, see what I can find to add in some grasses and things. But what I might do actually is grab a sponge for this one. Grab a sponge roller. Let's just make sure I did colour all of these. Got no colour coming out of it. Let's just ink up our sponge roller. And then we can sort of add in some ground down here. Lovely. I might grab another sponge roller. This one got any colour coming out of it? No. Let's stick with our pool party, shall we? Then we'll have a bit of pool party coming across the top here. Ooh. Sponge isn't rolling very well. I think I need some new sponges. We're just rolling that sponge over the top here. So we've got a bit of sky, and a bit of ground. What have I got? It's got just some sort of we could go with A Friend Like You. What about Grace's Garden? Has that got... What made me think now they've got grass in? It hasn't. I'm going to come in with this one from the Friend Like You. I just want to add in a bit of grass, but again, I don't want it all. Let's come back to our mossy meadow. Just going to not lots of grass, just little sort of wispy bits of grass coming in around the edge so that there's a little bit of greenery there. I'm trying to think what stamp set it is that has just got, oh, My Meadow. That's got some like tufty grass bits in it. So let's pick that up. It's nice when you can mix and match stamp sets. Building pictures. Our giraffe looks really quite ill at the moment, doesn't he? Sort of partly brown, partly green. But again, we can stamp some grasses, and I'm going to take this one with the little bits of grass. My Meadow. These stamp sets are so useful for adding in. And we'll have some grass coming around the bottom of our trees here. Sticking out behind the giraffe's tail. Right, okay. So, we've stamped our trees. We've rolled our ground, rolled in some sky. Let's take this off. There we are. Our giraffe is no longer looking quite so green. So I think giraffe, we want some So Saffron, possibly Cajun Craze. Got some soft suede there if I want to add in some soft suede. Let's give him some sort of Cajun Craze spots. Not worried too much about adding in the darker shading. Could go in and do that, but for now we'll just give him some Cajun Craze spots. So I hope, Hannah, that sort of helped with the idea of, you don't necessarily have a sponge roller, you could just use a sponge or watercolour over the top to add in your ground, trees or something in the background, or mountains, or whatever you've got, whatever sort of landscape you want in the background. Right, I'm going to come in with some dark So Saffron on these sort of shady bits where he's all in a knot. Excellent. I say with all of these we could have stamped them and just fussy cut them and sort of 3D'd that up on the top almost, is another way of doing it. But this obviously looks very clever, doesn't it? This is a, oh, how did you do that moment? Oh, well, the wonder of post-it notes. Round the giraffe's bottom. I think I'll give him some light soft suede hooves, because we can. I'm sorry, the rain is abating a little bit this end, so it had to go somewhere. We'll just put in a bit of petal pink around his nose, around his ears. Let's come on over that and blend that out a bit. Just checking that's not thunder, because I shall have one puppy running down in a minute. If it is, he'll be sitting on our lap, as big as he is. He really does not like the thunder. Right, I'm going to come in. Ooh. Can't undo. Now, Sahara sand we use. So I've just got my Sahara sand sponge. So we used the roller. But actually, I'm going to get my dauber, I think. I just knocked onto the floor. Crumb cake, Sahara sand. Just going to pick up my Sahara sand dauber. I'm just going to, oh, that's gone too dark. Just wanted to add in a bit around in there, around his feet. Ooh. Well, that will have to wait. Right, let us find. We've got a this is not good. There, possibly, and I might even stamp that direct onto the card. So let's get our black. This is not good. It's going to really annoy me. What can we put in there? Let's come in with some slightly bigger grasses. There's a lesson. I should have blotted off my dauber before I went in. So much easier to take ink out than it is to put ink or add ink in than it is to take it out again. Okay, so let's go Sahara sand for that one, I think. Don't use Sahara sand very often. Let me cut that to 10 and 14.4. Somewhere we should have the other half of our thick Whisper White. Just score that. And fold it. Let's pop that, excuse me, on there because otherwise it will go walkabout. Let's cover up our giraffe that didn't go well. Let's make him just a distant memory. I'm just wondering if I've got something that sort of is a bit thinking of you-ish. Be with you in a second. Just as I flick, I found one. Is that too big? Yes, I think I'm going to go. We're going to do a bit more masking because this greeting actually says, thinking of you this season. It's not quite what we want. We just want thinking of you. Purple tape. Oh, is that what I dropped on the floor? Is that what went flying? Oh no, that was a... That purple tape has gone walkabout. I've buried it under a pile somewhere. I've got lots of stamp sets now surrounding me and ink pads and various bits and pieces. There it is. Knew it couldn't be far away. So let's again mask our stamp. We just want the thinking of you. I'm going to do that on a small piece of white card. Let's dig in my oddments. Perfect. Black ink. Ink up that thinking of you. Lose the this season. Oh, see, that's stamped perfectly on my mat. Stick to that block, little tinker. Don't forget to take your tape off. Won't matter if this isn't perfectly straight. I'm going to now, I wonder if that will fit in this label punch. Yes, it will. Beautifully. I'm going to bring it down to this end. And then I'm going to find a scrap of Sahara sand. grey. So that's grey granite. And we'll punch one out of Sahara sand. Take our scissors and go straight up the middle. Hello, Jackie. Oh, let's try this glue. We know this glue was working earlier. So we'll have a bit top. And a bit bottom. Because we've got wet glue, we can give that a bit of a wiggle. And I'm going to chop this end off. And that can come in here, and we'll raise that up on some dimensionals, I think. Let's have some. We'll snip a couple of bits off of here to put behind there. 1, 2. So we have been masking galore this morning, creating our 2 cards using those really cute little creatures from Back on Your Feet. So we've used the sloth and we've used the giraffe. You've also got this little tortoise that's on his back, with the hope you get back on your feet soon. Fabulous stamp set, so good for people that are feeling poorly or a bit rubbish if things aren't good. So this one we masked off our little sloth, we masked off our little cloud shape, and then we stamped our jungle before colouring in our little sloth so that he pops out from behind. And then this one we created a bit more of a scene with this one, so we stamped our trees in the background. We then sponge braided our ground in the foreground here and added in our grasses and things, and so then sponged in a sky as well. And then we've also on both of these done some masking with our stamps, so that we've masked off pieces of our stamp so that we're not using the whole stamp when we stamp with it. So some great little cards from Back on Your Feet and a lesson in masking. So hopefully, if you, like Hannah, thought I was speaking a foreign language when I talked to you about masking, then you know you're now a bit more sure of what all that is about. And I'm sure you've seen me do it lots of times, just not realised that that is what I was talking about. And Hannah, as I say, is using a retired stamp set. So this one just here with the bikes, but if you cut out this pair of bikes, cut out this bike, do those separately, you could do something very similar to that. So stamp your image, mask them off. You could have trees in the background, you could have mountains in the background, you could have a lake, you could have them going around a lake if you wanted to, particularly if you've got some of the waterfront sort of stamp sets and things, you could use those. So you could have this as water with trees in the background and road coming around here. You could do all sorts of things, but once you've masked off those bikes, that gives you the freedom then to play with the background. So thank you for a question from the floor. Always happy to help if I can help in any way like that. More than happy to do it. That is what I am here for. I am here not just to sell you these beautiful products, which of course I am always very, very happy to do, but I'm also here to be your creative coach. That is my title. That's what I am. Okay, so thank you very much, ladies, for playing along today, and I will Div, did you shout? Well done. So I'm just looking back at the comments. Div shouted at me that I hadn't removed the tape. You see, it's to learn by what I do. It's also about not doing what I do. It's like, don't do that. This is what happens. Yeah, because you would just get the image, because the ink would still be laying over the top of the raised bit of the stamp, and it would stamp through anyway. So yes, so sorry, just catching up on comments. Thank you for joining me today. I will be back in the morning. Where are we? With Thursday today. So we'll do All Request Friday tomorrow. So I can't think if I've posted anything up, whether I'd made that decision. I don't think I have. So I need to decide what your options are for All Request Friday tomorrow. So look out in an hour or two for that poll to pop up on the on my Facebook page, and we'll see what you fancy me playing with tomorrow.